From the dawn of time, a vast green empire emerged, the Amazon. A living forest that breathes with the earth, shaping the climate, feeding mighty rivers, and sheltering an uncountable wealth of life. Every towering trunk stands as a witness to forgotten ages. Every root guards secrets older than humankind. Every bird paints the horizon as if nature itself were the artist. This is more than a biome. It is the planet's greatest natural treasure, a wild sanctuary where life has reinvented itself for millions of years. A sacred realm, vital for the future of us all. Today, we invite you to embark on this unforgettable journey into the heart of the rainforest. Share in the comments where you are watching from, and become part of this expedition.
Welcome to Wild Amazon, the extraordinary life in the world's largest rainforest. Full documentary.
"65 million years ago, as the world recovered from the extinction of the dinosaurs, a new landscape began to emerge from primordial waters. The basin we now know as the Amazon was then a vast inland sea, a freshwater ocean stretching like a liquid mirror beneath pristine skies. From the depths of that sea, the first mountains silently rose. Geologic time, measured not in centuries but in epochs, sculpted this land with the infinite patience of a master artisan. Each layer of sediment that settled on that ancient seabed carries the memory of lost worlds, of creatures that swam where no trees yet cast a shadow. This soil is not merely dirt. It is a sacred archive of creation itself. When the great inland sea finally receded, it left behind a fertile plain, bathed by rivers descending from the newly born Andes. This was the sacred moment of the forest's first breath. Seeds arrived on the winds, carried on the feet of the first animals, and in the bellies of migratory birds guided by an instinct older than consciousness itself. Every seed that touched this blessed ground carried not just the promise of a tree, but the genetic code for a paradise waiting to be born. In this virgin soil, the first pioneer trees were not the giants we know today, but humble species adapted to open spaces, creating the first islands of shade where a more complex forest could begin its rise. The water cycle here is the circulatory system of a planetary organism. The rain doesn't just fall, it dances. Every drop begins its journey thousands of kilometers away, where the sun transforms the ocean into pure vapor. When the clouds finally release their liquid blessing upon the jungle, 80% of this rain will never touch the forest floor. It is intercepted by thirsty leaves, absorbed by epiphytes hanging like suspended gardens, and evaporated again to form new clouds in a perpetual cycle of cosmic generosity. This constant circulation creates the perfect womb for life to flourish, a divine thermostat maintaining the ideal conditions for creation to express its infinite imagination. Beneath our feet, A silent symphony of decomposition and rebirth unfolds. Here, death is not an end, but a sacred transformation. Every fallen leaf, every broken branch, every rotting fruit becomes nourishment for the hungry roots that weave a subterranean network more complex than the neural connections of every human brain combined. The Amazonian soil is alive. It breathes through the pores left by roots and pulses with the ceaseless work of billions of microorganisms. Microscopic fungi extend their filaments like a biological internet, connecting trees kilometers apart, allowing a young sapling to receive nutrients from a century-old giant in an act of solidarity that defies our understanding of community. The river that flows through this liquid cathedral is the main artery of this circulatory system, pumping life into every corner of the green expanse. Born as a crystalline thread in the icy heights of the Peruvian Andes, the Amazon grows with the tribute of thousands of tributaries. By the time it meets the Atlantic, it carries more water than the next 7 largest rivers in the world combined, staining the ocean with a freshwater tongue that extends for more than 100 kilometers. But these rivers carry more than just water. They carry history, sediments from the mountains, seeds from distant plants, and the eggs of fish that will make epic journeys to spawn where their ancestors were born. Then, over millennia, the forest reached maturity. The canopy closed completely, creating its own microclimate where humidity remains perpetually high, and the temperature varies by only a few degrees. The wind becomes a whispering breeze, barely able to stir the leaves of the understory. In this moment, the world's greatest natural laboratory was born, a realm where evolution could experiment with forms of life impossible anywhere else on Earth. The first truly Amazonian creatures began to take shape, primitive ancestors that found in this green paradise the perfect conditions to develop the extraordinary adaptations that their descendants would inherit. In this grand theater, a central thesis emerges. The Amazon is the ultimate expression of life's creativity. In an environment of ferocious competition, especially for the precious resource of light, survival does not depend on brute force. It hinges on the sophistication of adaptation, and more importantly, on the complexity of alliances. This is a world where collaboration is not a sign of weakness, but the most definitive and successful evolutionary strategy. From microscopic fungi to the apex predators of the canopy, every being is woven into a web of interdependence where the success of one is tied to the survival of all. Life in the Amazon is a vertical journey, unfolding across distinct layers, each with its own rules, inhabitants, and dramas. At the very top is the emergent layer, where giant trees break through the canopy, standing like lonely titans in a sea of green. Below this is the canopy itself, a bustling, sun-drenched metropolis of leaves, flowers, and fruits, where the majority of life is found. Further down lies the understory, a twilight world of filtered light, deep shadows, and intense humidity. Finally, there is the forest floor, a dark, quiet realm of decay and regeneration, where the cycle of life and death is most apparent. The struggle for light dictates the architecture of the entire forest. With 95% of sunlight intercepted by the canopy, the world below is a place of profound shade. Young saplings can wait for decades in a state of suspended animation, surviving on mere flickers of light that pierce the gloom. They are waiting for their moment, the fall of a giant. When an ancient tree finally succumbs to age or storms, it creates a gap in the canopy, a sudden column of sunlight that triggers a frantic race. The saplings that have patiently waited now explode in a burst of growth, competing to claim the vacant space in the sky. This constant competition for resources has driven an evolutionary arms race of unparalleled complexity. Plants have developed an arsenal of chemical defenses, toxins, irritants, and compounds that disrupt digestion to protect their leaves from herbivores. In response, insects and other animals have evolved sophisticated detoxification mechanisms, allowing them to specialize on plants that would be lethal to others. This back and forth has created a dizzying diversity of chemical compounds, many of which hold the potential for new medicines and scientific breakthroughs. A planetary pharmacy that evolved over millions of years. The symphony of the Amazon is composed not just of sounds, but of scents, colors, and textures. Flowers have evolved vibrant hues and specific shapes to attract their perfect pollinating partners. Fruits signal their ripeness with brilliant colors and intoxicating aromas. A clear advertisement for the animals that will disperse their seeds. Insects have perfected the art of camouflage, becoming indistinguishable from leaves, twigs, and even bird droppings. Every signal, every pattern, is a form of communication in a language that has been refined over eons, a constant dialogue between all living things. This is the stage where our journey truly begins. It is not a static backdrop, but a living, breathing organism that grows, transforms, and evolves with every passing second. A world where the past, present, and future coexist in every new leaf that unfurls, in every ancient tree that falls to nourish the next generation, and in every seed that carries within it the potential to become a living cathedral, casting its shadow over the centuries to come. We now enter this world to meet the protagonists of this grand evolutionary drama, each a masterpiece of creation. In the sacred workshop of Amazonian evolution, every creature was forged with unique tools that defy the limits of human imagination. In the dizzying heights of the forest canopy, where filtered light paints the world in golden hues, one of the most extraordinary navigational tools ever created evolved, the prehensile tail of the spider monkey. This is not merely an extension of the body, but a fifth limb endowed with a tactile sensitivity more refined than our own hands. Every centimeter of this tail is innervated with thousands of nerve endings, allowing it to distinguish the texture, strength, and even the age of the branches it grasps. The spider monkey has been called the navigator of the fifth limb, and for good reason. Its life is an acrobatic ballet performed hundreds of feet above the ground, a constant challenge of moving with safety and efficiency to find scattered patches of fruit. This remarkable tail allows it to hang suspended while using its 4 other limbs to gather food, care for its young, or communicate with complex gestures. The true genius of this tool is revealed at its tip, where a hairless, ridged patch of skin functions like an ultra-sensitive fingerprint. This caudal hand is its key to mastering this complex 3-dimensional world. This sensitive tip can detect nearly imperceptible vibrations that warn of an approaching predator, such as the silent flight of a harpy eagle. It can sense the moisture content of a branch, indicating its structural integrity. It can even read the chemical markers left by other primates, deciphering messages about territory, reproductive status, and social hierarchy. With this 5th limb, the spider monkey navigates the canopy with an unmatched fluidity, conserving precious energy and accessing resources that are completely out of reach for other, less specialized animals. It is a living testament to evolutionary ingenuity. Descending a few meters into the shadowy understory, we encounter a creature that has transformed slowness into the ultimate art of survival, the 3-toed sloth. It is the undisputed master of energy efficiency. Its limbs are not conventional arms and legs, but living hooks specialized for a single purpose: to grip branches with a force that defies gravity. Each curved claw is an engineering marvel that can support up to 10 times the animal's weight without a single muscle needing to be consciously contracted. The secret lies in an automatic locking mechanism of specialized tendons, allowing it to hang effortlessly for hours, even while sleeping. The sloth's challenge is immense. It must survive on a diet of low-calorie, highly toxic leaves. This extreme adaptation has made it the most energetically efficient mammal on the planet, capable of surviving on just 1/10 of the calories required by other mammals of a similar size. Its slowness is not laziness. It is a precisely calibrated strategy. But its adaptations go beyond its claws. Its fur grows in the opposite direction of all other mammals, from its belly to its back, allowing rainwater to easily run off while it hangs upside down, preventing its skin from becoming waterlogged. Within this peculiar coat, an entire mobile ecosystem thrives. Microscopic algae colonize the strands of fur, tinting the sloth a shade of green that provides the perfect camouflage, making it virtually invisible amongst the foliage to predators like the harpy eagle. This symbiotic garden is just one part of a larger story. Perhaps the most incredible gift a mother sloth gives her offspring is not just care, but her unique gut microbiome. By passing along these specialized bacteria, she equips her young with the biological machinery necessary to digest the toxic leaves that will sustain them for their entire lives. Now we plunge into the murky aquatic world of the Amazon's rivers, where one of the most extraordinary sensory tools in the animal kingdom evolved: The electroreception of the electric eel. This creature is the lord of the electric field, having transformed its own body into a living battery capable of generating discharges of up to 600 volts, enough to stun a horse or even kill a human. But this lethal weapon serves a far more refined purpose than just predation. The eel uses low-voltage pulses as a biological sonar system, creating an electric field around its body that allows it to see through the muddy water. In this environment, vision is useless. But for the electric eel, the world is a vibrant, three-dimensional image built from electrical distortions. Any object that enters its field, a rock, a log, a hidden fish, alters the electrical pattern in a unique way. This allows the eel to navigate with absolute precision in total darkness. Its sensory system is so sophisticated that it can distinguish between a living fish and a dead one by sensing the natural electrical activity of its muscles. It can locate prey buried deep in the riverbed mud and even perceive the intentions of other animals by the changes in their bioelectric fields. The story of the Amazon is filled with such masters of adaptation. High in the canopy, the aquatic anole, a tree-dwelling iguana, has developed skin that is a masterpiece of camouflage. It can alter not only its color, but also its texture, creating disguises so convincing that it becomes indistinguishable from the bark of the trees where it lives. Specialized cells called chromatophores expand and contract, changing its color patterns in seconds, while tiny muscles can make its scales stand up or lie flat, perfectly mimicking the rough texture of different tree species. It can even create patterns of light and shadow on its own skin to match its surroundings. In the world of insects, the tools of creation are no less spectacular. The leafcutter ant has developed mandibles that don't just cut with surgical precision, but function as multi-tools that can be sharpened and even replaced depending on where. However, their true genius lies in the chemical receptors within these jaws. The ants can literally taste a leaf as they cut it, assessing its nutritional quality in real time and rejecting unsuitable material before wasting energy transporting it back to the colony. This ensures their subterranean fungus gardens, the sole food source for the colony, are never contaminated with toxic material. Meanwhile, deep in the muddy river bottoms, another master of sensation patrols the dark. The barbels of the catfish, or surabi, are not decorative appendages but ultra-specialized sensory organs covered with thousands of taste buds and mechanoreceptors. Each barbel can move independently, probing the environment like blind fingers that taste everything they touch. They can detect chemical concentrations as low as a few parts per billion, identifying not only the presence of food, but also its nutritional quality and state of decay. Their mechanical sensitivity is so refined, they can feel the vibrations from the gills of a small fish breathing in the mud. In the Amazon, every sense has been sharpened to an extraordinary degree. Every limb specialized, every organ modified over millions of years of natural experimentation. The result is not just a collection of species, but a living library of elegant solutions to the seemingly impossible challenges of survival. In this vast green laboratory, evolution has not only created life, it has sculpted functional art in its most sublime and breathtaking form. These are the tools that allow life to thrive in a world of constant change and competition. At the heart of the Amazon beats an ancient metronome, marking the rhythm of life for millions of years. This rhythm is not measured in audible frequencies, but in biological pulses that synchronize every heartbeat, every reproductive cycle, every migration, and every moment of rest. The first beat of this cosmic clock is dictated by the breath of the forest itself. Every 24 hours, 6 billion trees inhale carbon dioxide and exhale pure oxygen in a collective breath so massive it can be measured by satellites orbiting hundreds of kilometers above. This respiratory cycle dictates the daily pulse of life. As the first rays of sunlight pierce the canopy, what the indigenous people call the awakening of the spirits begins. This awakening follows a precise, ancient order. The first to announce the day are the howler monkeys, whose territorial roars resonate at a frequency so low it is felt as much as it is heard. These calls are not just proclamations of territory, they are a public schedule, synchronizing the activities of dozens of other species. Their sound wave alerts the entire forest community that a new day has begun, a signal for the grand symphony to commence. Minutes after the howlers, as if responding to an invisible conductor, hundreds of bird species begin the morning chorus. This is not a chaotic cacophony, but a layered harmony, where each species sings in a specific frequency to avoid interference. This chorus is a collective communication system, transmitting vital information about weather conditions, the presence of predators, and the availability of food. An experienced ornithologist can read this morning chorus like a sonic newspaper, deciphering the subtle changes that indicate shifts in the local ecological balance. As the sun climbs higher, the forest enters its period of peak activity. This is when the Amazon's complex social networks are on full display. Mixed species flocks of primates form temporary alliances, bringing together groups that might normally compete. Capuchin monkeys, with their superior ability to find ripe fruit, often lead these expeditions. Smaller tamarins explore the thinner branches, while spider monkeys act as lookouts from the high canopy. This temporary cooperation allows each species to access resources that would be difficult to find alone, a remarkable display of collective intelligence. But the rhythm of the jungle is not confined to the sunlit canopy. In the lower levels, where a permanent twilight reigns, other communities follow entirely different temporal cycles. Here, creatures have evolved circadian rhythms based not on sunlight, but on food availability, rainfall patterns, and predator activity. The leafcutter ants, for instance, operate on a work schedule that rivals the most sophisticated human production systems. Specialized castes work in shifts around the clock, creating a continuous flow of activity that never ceases, a testament to nature's efficiency. In the rivers that wind through the jungle like pulsing liquid arteries, different rhythms govern aquatic life. The seasonal rise and fall of the water level dictates not only where fish can swim, but when they must reproduce, migrate, and feed. This hydrological cycle is the aquatic metronome that synchronizes millions of creatures in a temporal choreography repeated for millennia. During the dry season, when rivers shrink, hundreds of species of river turtles emerge simultaneously to lay their eggs on the newly exposed sandbanks, a spectacle of natural synchronization guided by a complex biological clock. Perhaps the most impressive rhythm of Amazonian life is revealed during mass reproductive events that can span thousands of square kilometers. Certain tree species fruit simultaneously on a continental scale, creating explosions of food that sustain epic migrations of birds, mammals, and insects. The mass flowering of the Brazil nut tree is one such example. Every few years, hundreds of thousands of trees across the entire basin flower and fruit at the same time, a display of plant communication that still mystifies science, triggering a cascade of synchronization throughout the entire food web. As the midday heat intensifies, the jungle enters a rest phase known as the tropical siesta. This is not a period of inactivity, but a complete reorganization of life's rhythms. Diurnal creatures seek shade and reduce their metabolic activity to conserve energy. It is during this pause that the true lords of the jungle take control. The insects, freed from the predatory pressure of diurnal birds, millions of insect species erupt in a festival of activity. This entomological buzz is not chaotic. It follows precise temporal patterns, with different groups taking turns to use the same resources, avoiding excessive competition. When the sun finally declines, one of the most dramatic transitions of the daily cycle begins. Twilight is not just a change in light, it is a complete revolution in the cast of active characters. The first to announce this transition are the bats. Minutes before complete darkness, insect-eating species emerge from their roosts, initiating an aerial hunt that will last all night. Their echolocation calls create a three-dimensional sound map of every insect in motion. The Amazonian night is not silent. It is filled with a completely different symphony, a chorus of frogs, crickets, owls, and nocturnal mammals. In the green womb of the Amazon, every birth is a miracle that echoes through generations, carrying not only the genetic code of a species, but the ancestral wisdom of millions of years of refined evolution. Here, reproduction transcends a mere biological act to become a sacred ceremony of transmitting knowledge, strategy, and hope. This is the story of parenthood, a saga of monumental investment and dedication, ensuring that the next generation is not just born, but thoroughly prepared for the complex challenges of survival in the world's most competitive environment. We return to the skies, to the supreme guardian of the Amazonian heavens, the harpy eagle. She builds her nest in the highest branches, a fortress designed to withstand the most violent tropical storms. This nest is not just a cradle, it is a university, where the art of the perfect hunt will be taught over months of intensive education. The female lays only 2 eggs, but she will raise only 1 chick. This is not a limitation, but a strategy of absolute precision, ensuring all parental energy is focused on a single, perfectly raised successor. When the chick finally hatches, it is born with its eyes open and a voracious hunger that will demand intensive care for more than 10 months. During the first weeks, the chick observes every move its parents make, memorizing flight techniques, hunting strategies, and a mental map of a territory that spans hundreds of square kilometers. The education continues with training flights, where the young eagle learns not just to fly, but to navigate the 3-dimensional labyrinth of the jungle at speeds exceeding 80 kilometers per hour without ever striking a branch. The parents conduct progressively complex exercises, culminating in simulated hunts. This monumental parental investment means the female harpy eagle reproduces only once every 2 or 3 years, one of the slowest reproductive rates in the avian world. But this ensures that when the young eagle finally leaves the nest, it is not merely a survivor, but a master hunter, ready to take its place as the apex predator of the canopy. This transfer of knowledge is essential for maintaining the ecological balance, a slow, deliberate process that guarantees the continuation of a dynasty of sky guardians. In the dark river waters, one of the most touching reproductive ceremonies occurs when a female manatee gives birth to her single calf after a 13-month gestation. This gentle giant will then dedicate the next 2 years of her life to a level of maternal care that redefines the limits of unconditional love in the animal kingdom. The calf is born already weighing 30 kilograms, but its survival depends entirely on its mother's milk, the richest in fat of any aquatic mammal. It will remain constantly by her side, learning a complex curriculum of survival skills. The mother manatee develops a complex vocal communication system with her calf, using a variety of low-frequency sounds that can travel for kilometers through the water. Each sound has a specific meaning, warnings of danger, calls to feed, or simply expressions of affection. But perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of this motherhood is the transmission of aquatic mental maps. The female guides her calf along specific routes she learned from her own mother decades before, pathways that lead to seasonal feeding grounds, safe havens during storms, and even underwater resting places used by generations of ancestors. Back in the understory, the 3-toed sloth faces a unique reproductive challenge. Its 7-month gestation requires the female to maintain her body temperature a few degrees above normal to ensure the proper development of her fetus, an impressive metabolic feat for an animal evolved to minimize energy expenditure. The birth occurs high in the trees, where the baby is born with fully functional claws, allowing it to immediately cling to its mother's fur. For the next 6 months, it will be her constant companion, learning through direct observation which leaves are edible, which branches are safe, and how to move with maximum efficiency. Among the Amazonian primates, the bald-headed wakari has developed one of the most sophisticated educational systems in the animal kingdom. Young are born after a 6-month gestation, but their education will last for nearly 2 years within a highly social community, where every adult contributes to the upbringing of the next generation. What makes this system unique is the existence of natural schools, where groups of juveniles of different ages are supervised by experienced females as they explore their environment. This allows them to learn through direct experience, but with the safety of constant oversight. The curriculum of these natural schools includes food identification, advanced locomotion techniques, predator recognition, and even the rudimentary use of tools. Young wakaris learn to use twigs to extract insects from holes in trees and stones, to crack open hard-shelled nuts. Most remarkably, they learn cultural traditions that can vary between different groups of the same species. Some troops have developed unique vocal calls or social rituals, and this cultural diversity is carefully passed down through demonstration, imitation, and supervised practice, showcasing a level of social learning once thought to be exclusively human. In the quiet lagoons, the male black caiman reveals a surprising side of reptilian fatherhood. After the female deposits her eggs in a mound of decaying vegetation that acts as a natural incubator, it is the male who takes on the responsibility of guarding the nest for the 80-day incubation period. He constantly monitors the nest's temperature, adding or removing plant matter to maintain ideal conditions. He intuitively knows that temperatures between 32 and 33 degrees will produce males, while slightly cooler or warmer temperatures will result in females, allowing him to influence the sex ratio of his offspring. When the hatchlings finally emerge, the massive father gently carries them in his mouth to the water, where he will protect them during their first critical months of life. During this period, he teaches them how to hunt small fish, how to hide among aquatic vegetation, and how to recognize the signs that announce the approach of predators. In the Amazon, every birth carries with it not just the biological future of a species, but the cultural, behavioral, and ecological heritage of countless generations, a golden chain of continuity connecting the past to an eternal promise of the future. In the Amazonian expanse of time, where cycles are measured in planetary pulses that can last for decades, the forest faces its most epic trials. This is a cosmic dance between abundance and scarcity, between the liquid blessing of torrential rains and the purifying test of relentless droughts. Here, where nature reveals its most dramatic face, every creature must demonstrate not only its ability to survive, but its capacity to transform adversity into opportunity and catastrophe into renewal. This is the story of resilience forged in the crucible of climatic extremes. When the El Niño phenomenon awakens in the distant Pacific, altering the atmospheric currents that govern continental weather patterns, its invisible waves of change reach the green heart of South America. Clouds that normally shed their liquid blessing upon the jungle are rerouted, leaving behind a sky of relentless blue. A severe drought, the first in a decade, transforms the Amazon into a natural laboratory of endurance. Rivers that normally run deep and wide shrink to crystalline threads snaking between sandbanks that have not seen the sun in years. For the Amazon's fish, this radical transformation triggers one of the most spectacular migrations in the animal kingdom. Millions of them begin epic journeys downstream, following the receding waters in an aquatic procession that can stretch for hundreds of kilometers. These are not desperate flights, but refined evolutionary strategies, with entire schools reorganizing into hydrodynamic formations to minimize energy expenditure. Those fish that remain in the isolated pools left behind face a harsher test as oxygen levels plummet and competition for space intensifies dramatically. On the exposed riverbanks, a temporary explosion of life transforms the dry landscape into an ephemeral biological feast. Seeds that lay dormant on the submerged riverbed for years germinate simultaneously, creating verdant meadows that will exist only for the dry months. These temporary gardens attract herbivores from across the region, capybaras, tapirs, deer, who converge on these oases of food. For aquatic birds, the shrinking water bodies create both challenges and extraordinary opportunities, as fish concentrated in shallow pools become easy prey, triggering fierce competition among the hunters. The drought also reveals the secret archives of the jungle. The trunks of giant trees that fell decades ago, preserved at the bottom of rivers, emerge like petrified wooden ghosts, their growth rings telling stories of droughts and floods that predate human memory. In the canopy, the consequences are even more dramatic. Trees that have known a constant abundance of water suddenly face severe rationing. Less adapted species begin to shed their leaves prematurely in a desperate attempt to reduce evaporation, a stark sign of a forest under extreme stress. When the first clouds finally gather on the horizon after months of clear skies, they herald not a gentle return to normalcy, but the onset of one of tropical nature's most violent forces. The Amazonian storms that break severe droughts are events of planetary energy, releasing in a few hours the accumulated force of months of atmospheric tension. A quick pause in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. Don't miss a single discovery. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to explore every story, every mystery, and every creature of this unique jungle. If you've made it this far, it means you're enjoying the documentary. Keep following our journey and support our work by subscribing. The first lightning bolts can carry 1 billion volts, heating the air to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. The thunder that follows is a physical shockwave, a pulse that resonates through the entire forest. When the rain finally begins, it falls not as gentle showers but as a liquid avalanche that can pour more than 200 millimeters of water in a single hour. This extreme intensity temporarily transforms the jungle into an aquatic landscape, where the ground disappears beneath a sheet of flowing water that carries everything in its path. Leaves, branches, small animals, and seeds, in a massive redistribution of organic matter that will fertilize distant areas. For the plants, this represents an opportunity for explosive growth, as dormant buds burst forth, growing several meters in a matter of weeks. The rivers, which had shrunk to mere trickles, transform into furious torrents that can rise 10 meters or more in a matter of days. This radical change forces a complete reorganization of animal communities, as fish are dispersed across an expanded network of waterways, finding new territories and new mates. The resulting flooded forest, known as the Varzea, creates one of the most extraordinary ecosystems on the planet. Here, trees that spend months with their roots completely submerged have developed aerial root systems that hang from their branches like vegetative curtains, allowing them to breathe atmospheric oxygen. During these periods of climatic extremes, the forest reveals its most impressive capacity, to reinvent itself. Seeds that germinate only after specific periods of drought followed by intense rain initiate ecological succession cycles that can last for decades. Gaps opened by storm winds create opportunities for pioneer species, and rivers that change course during extreme floods create entirely new aquatic habitats. Between the ashes of drought and the fury of storms, the Amazon reveals itself not as a forest that simply endures climatic extremes, but as a living system that uses them as tools for renewal and reinforcement. Within the green depths of the Amazon, a network of interdependencies is woven, so complex and refined that it challenges our very understanding of individuality, cooperation, and survival. Here, Darwinian competition is transformed into a symphony of mutualism. We discover that the true strength of life lies not in the isolated struggle of each species, but in the invisible threads that connect every creature in a tapestry of mutual benefits. This is the secret architecture that sustains the breathtaking exuberance of the Amazon. At the base of this planetary network of collaboration lies a silent partnership between the plant and fungal kingdoms. Beneath the forest floor, microscopic filaments of mycorrhizal fungi extend like a biological internet, connecting the roots of trees kilometers apart. These symbiotic fungi are not parasites. They are microscopic business partners that established trade agreements with plants over 400 million years ago. The fungi provide rare minerals extracted from the soil, phosphorus, nitrogen, micronutrients, which the plant roots could never reach alone. In return, the plants pay with sugars produced through photosynthesis. But this partnership transcends simple trade. Mycorrhizal fungi function as a vegetative nervous system, enabling chemical communication between distant trees. When a young cecropia is attacked by herbivorous insects, it can send alarm signals through the fungal network, alerting other plants in the region to the imminent threat. These recipient plants immediately begin producing defensive compounds, preparing for an attack that may never arrive. This communication is so sophisticated, it can transmit specific information about the type of threat, its intensity, and its approximate location. In the sunlit canopy, one of the most vital associations for maintaining biodiversity unfolds between flowering plants and their specialized pollinators. This is not a casual relationship. It is a refined system of coevolution where each plant species has developed specific characteristics, color, shape, scent, time of opening, that attract only specific pollinators. The catasetum orchid has evolved a pollination strategy so precise that it works only with males of a single species of euglossine bee, luring them with a scent that perfectly mimics the female bee's sex pheromones. Perhaps the most impressive partnership between plants and animals is that between fig trees and the tiny wasps of the genus Aegaeon. This coevolutionary relationship is so ancient and specific that each of the more than 800 species of Amazonian fig trees has its own exclusive species of pollinating wasp, an evolutionary precision that borders on the miraculous. A pregnant female wasp enters a fig, losing her wings and antennae in the process, a sacrifice that ensures the survival of her offspring. She lays her eggs while pollinating the internal flowers, perpetuating a cycle that has continued for over 60 million years. This single association sustains one of the most efficient seed dispersal systems in the rainforest. Ripe figs attract more than 300 species of fruit-eating vertebrates, primates, birds, bats, and reptiles. These animals consume the fruits and disperse the seeds in their droppings, sometimes tens of kilometers away from the parent plant. The fig tree, therefore, acts as a keystone species, a central hub in the ecological network whose existence supports a vast number of other species, demonstrating how a single, highly specialized relationship can have far-reaching effects on the entire ecosystem. On the forest floor, one of the most economically sophisticated associations in the animal kingdom unfolds between leafcutter ants and the fungus they cultivate in their subterranean gardens. This is not simple farming. It is a complex agro-industrial system involving cultivar selection, pest control, organic fertilization, and even primitive genetic manipulation. The ants process the leaves they cut into a nutritious paste that serves as a substrate for a specific fungus, the colony's sole food source. This monoculture, however, faces constant threats from invasive pests. To combat these threats, the ants have developed a secondary partnership with bacteria of the genus Streptomyces, which they cultivate on their own bodies. These bacteria produce natural antibiotics that the ants continuously apply to their fungal gardens, keeping them free of contamination. This triple association, ants, fungus, and bacteria, has created one of the most stable and efficient food production systems in the entire animal kingdom, a testament to the power of multi-layered cooperation. In the dark waters of the Amazonian rivers, cleaning associations establish aquatic service stations, where large fish voluntarily submit to the care of smaller species that specialize in removing parasites and dead tissue. The giant arapaima will remain motionless, while small caracons work meticulously over its scales. These cleaning stations function like true medical clinics, where natural predators temporarily suspend their hunting instincts, and the smaller, cleaner fish signal their function with specific colors and movements, a universally recognized symbol of medical neutrality. In the Amazon, the invisible thread of creation reveals itself as a network of interdependence so complex and vital that each creature exists not as an isolated individual, but as a knot in a web of relationships stretching from the microscopic to the planetary. Each partnership, each exchange, each mutual benefit strengthens not only the direct participants, but the entire ecological structure that sustains the greatest biological diversity on planet Earth. This is the profound truth of the rainforest. Nothing exists alone. On the Amazon's temporal horizon, where the present meets an unwritten future, clouds of uncertainty are gathering. The forest that for 65 million years faced gradual climate shifts, meteorite impacts, and ice ages, now confronts a transformation more rapid and radical than any in its evolutionary history. Across this vast green expanse, thermometers are recording temperature increases that, while seemingly small, represent massive disruptions to the delicate balances that govern the cycles of rain, flowering periods, and reproductive rhythms of thousands of species. What makes this change particularly dramatic is not just its speed, but its asymmetrical nature. While average temperatures rise gradually, extremes are becoming more frequent and more intense. Droughts that historically occurred once a decade now visit the jungle every 3 or 4 years. Megastorms that were rare events are becoming almost routine. And fires, once confined to the adjacent savannas, are beginning to penetrate the heart of the humid forest, leaving scars of ash in places where fire had never burned in local evolutionary memory. For the Amazon species, these changes represent challenges that test the limits of their adaptive plasticity. Plants that synchronize their reproductive cycles with specific seasonal patterns of rain and temperature are finding these patterns are no longer reliable. Flowers are opening when their specific pollinators are not yet active. Fruits are ripening when their traditional dispersers have migrated elsewhere in search of more favorable conditions. This creates a dangerous unraveling of ancient, co-evolved partnerships. Some species demonstrate an impressive capacity for rapid adjustment. Certain Amazonian orchids are altering their flowering periods in just a few years, adapting to the new climatic rhythms with a flexibility that surprises researchers. Some primates are expanding their diets to include foods they traditionally ignored, developing new digestive tolerances. But other species, particularly those with long reproductive cycles and extreme ecological specializations, are facing increasing difficulties. The harpy eagle sees its vast territory fragmenting and its prey populations fluctuating unpredictably. Even more disturbing is the phenomenon of ecological desynchronization, where the intricate partnerships that sustain Amazonian biodiversity begin to fall out of temporal alignment. Fig trees are fruiting out of sync with the reproductive cycles of their specific pollinating wasps. Butterflies are emerging from their pupae weeks before their host plants produce the necessary leaves to feed their larvae. Bats are hibernating for periods that are misaligned with the flowering cycles of the plants that depend on them for pollination, creating a cascade of potential extinctions. The hydrological cycle, which functions as the circulatory system of the jungle, is showing signs of growing disruption. The recycling of water vapor that traditionally guaranteed regular rainfall in the interior of the basin is beginning to fail. Less recycled vapor means less rain further inland, which in turn further reduces evapotranspiration, creating a feedback loop that could push entire regions of the rainforest toward a permanent savanna state, a tipping point from which there may be no return. Perhaps the most subtle and worrying changes are those occurring at the level of the forest soils. Rising temperatures are accelerating decomposition processes, releasing carbon that has been stored for decades into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. This contributes to global warming in a feedback loop that accelerates the very process that caused it. Simultaneously, altered rainfall patterns are affecting the activity of the mycorrhizal fungi that form the basis of the communication and nutrient exchange network between plants, weakening the entire forest from its foundation. Yet amidst this storm of uncertainties, the Amazon once again reveals its extraordinary capacity for resilience and adaptation. Populations of some species, especially those with high genetic diversity, are beginning to exhibit variants that are better tolerated to the new conditions. Genes that remained recessive for generations are now emerging, creating more resilient lineages that could form the core of future population recoveries. The forest's own self-healing capabilities are surprising even the most experienced ecologists. Gaps opened by storms or severe droughts are quickly recolonized by pioneer species that modify the local microclimatic conditions, facilitating the gradual return of the mature forest. This ecological succession, though it may take decades to complete, represents a natural healing process that operates even under adverse environmental conditions. Even more impressively, some Amazonian species possess far greater environmental tolerances than was previously suspected, demonstrating a capacity to adapt to new habitats that defies decades of established ecological knowledge. The youth of the jungle, the new generations of trees, animals, and plants born under these altered environmental conditions, are showing encouraging signs of accelerated adaptation. These young generations are not burdened with the evolutionary expectations of stable environmental conditions that characterize their ancestors, allowing them to explore new ecological niches and develop life strategies that may be better suited to the emerging climatic realities. They represent the forest's hope for a new chapter. Perhaps the most hopeful sign of all is the discovery that the Amazon's diversity is even greater than we ever imagined. Scientific expeditions continue to discover new species at a rapid pace, many of which exhibit unique adaptations that could confer advantages under altered environmental conditions. This hidden reserve of biological diversity represents a genetic bank of evolutionary solutions that nature can mobilize as environmental conditions continue to shift. The Amazon holds the keys to its own survival, if we only give it the chance. The Amazon of the future may be different from the forest we know today, but these differences do not necessarily represent an irrecoverable loss. They could, instead, represent a new evolutionary phase where the creativity of life manifests itself through adaptations not yet imagined, unprecedented ecological associations, and forms of biological organization that will transform challenges into opportunities for growth and diversification. As the future breathes fear, it also whispers promises of renewal. In the silence that follows the final note of this Amazonian symphony, a truth remains that transcends all science and poetry. The Amazon is not just a place on a map, but a state of mind of creation itself. Every trembling leaf carries the memory of 65 million years of patient evolution. Every creature breathing in this suspended garden between heaven and earth represents a unique verse in the infinite poem of life, becoming conscious of itself. Here, we were not just observers, but participants in a reconnection with an ancient truth. We have been reminded that we are part of a story much larger than our own biographies, that we breathe the same air that nurtured extinct dinosaurs and will nurture creatures yet to evolve. The Amazon teaches us that true wealth is not measured in extractable resources, but in the complexity of the relationships that sustain life in its most exuberant form. It teaches us that true intelligence lies not in controlling nature, but in the wisdom of understanding our place within it. When this documentary ends and the images fade from the screen, the Amazon will continue to beat, to breathe, to evolve in a cosmic dance that began long before we existed, and will continue long after our civilization is but an archaeological layer in the jungle soil. But for these few precious moments, we have been able to synchronize our own heartbeats with the eternal pulse of this living cathedral. And that makes us, forever, a part of its sacred history. The story of the Amazon is a mirror reflecting our own. Its vulnerability is our vulnerability. Its resilience is our hope. The interconnectedness we witness in the jungle, the fungus and the tree, the fig and the wasp, the predator and the prey, is the same principle that governs our own world. We are all part of a single, intricate web of life. What happens in the heart of the Amazon does not stay in the Amazon. It affects the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the stability of the climate that sustains us all, no matter where we live. The challenges facing this great forest are immense, but they are not insurmountable. The same human ingenuity that has pushed it to the brink also holds the key to its protection and restoration. The solutions lie in valuing the forest for what it is, a living library of genetic wonders, a planetary climate regulator, and a sacred heritage for all humanity, rather than for what can be taken from it. It requires a shift in perspective, from short-term gain to long-term stewardship, recognizing that the health of the Amazon is inextricably linked to the health of our planet. There is a powerful force for change in the collective will of people who have been touched by the magic of this place. The indigenous communities who have been its guardians for millennia hold ancient knowledge that is crucial for its survival. Scientists are working tirelessly to understand its complexities and find solutions. And individuals around the world can contribute by making conscious choices, supporting conservation efforts, and raising their voices for policies that protect this irreplaceable treasure. Every action, no matter how small, adds to a growing wave of change. The Amazon is not a passive victim. It is a living force fighting to adapt, to heal, and to endure. Our greatest responsibility is to give it the time and the space to do so, to halt the forces that are pushing it too fast, too far, to allow its natural resilience honed over millions of years to work its magic. The future of the Amazon is not yet written. It is a story that we are all writing together, right now, with every choice we make. It can be a story of loss, or it can be a story of renewal and hope. Let us choose hope. Let us choose to be the generation that recognized the profound wisdom of the wild and acted to protect it. Let us be inspired by the sloth's efficiency, the ant's collaboration, and the eagle's far-sightedness. The Amazon will continue to breathe, to dance its eternal symphony of life. It is a promise of what the world can be when life is allowed to flourish in all its magnificent interconnected complexity. And we now have the privilege and the responsibility to be a part of that promise. If this journey to the pulsating heart of the planet has touched you, help us amplify this message. Like the video, comment on which creature amazed you the most, share it with someone who needs to see this wonder, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the last wild refuges on Earth. Your participation is essential. We will be waiting for you on the next journey.